Value of Determination, a value tale about Helen Keller. Hello, hello, hello. As you can see, there are three of us. Our names are Sight, Sound, and Speech. We're the true voice of a remarkable girl named Helen Keller. You know, your true voice is that voice inside you that gives your best thoughts. Helen was unlike most children because she could not hear or see or even speak. We are going to help you discover how, in spite of all this, Helen went on to live a very happy and successful life indeed because she knew the value of determination. Close your eyes and plug your ears for just a few moments. Can you imagine what life might have been like for Helen Keller? Well, let's discover that together. Once upon a time, a baby was born by the name of Helen. At first, she could see and hear like other healthy children. But then, when she was only a year and a half old, little Helen became sick, and the doctors did not know what was wrong. When the illness passed, something very unusual happened. Helen was left blind and deaf. Her parents felt sorry for her and spoiled her. Helen couldn't understand her dark, silent world and became confused and unhappy. She was frustrated and angry as well and began to behave very, very badly. Even when we, her true voice, tried to calm her, we failed. You would be happier if you behave, we all said to her. But even though she could hear her own thoughts, she refused to pay any attention. Her parents finally heard about a very special teacher for blind children named Anne Sullivan, and they called upon her to help them. When Anne arrived at the Keller home, she brought a doll for Helen. Helen rudely grabbed the doll out of Anne's hands, but then Anne took hold of Helen's hand, and with her fingers she spelled the word doll. What is she doing? Helen wondered. Sound whispered, she is helping you hear the word doll. She is helping you see what a doll looks like, said Sight. She is helping you say the word doll, said Speech. But Helen simply didn't understand. Have there ever been things that you have found difficult to understand? Progress was slow and difficult. Helen had liked it when everyone spoiled her, but Anne wasn't giving in to any of Helen's tantrums. She was going to help her change. Helen, however, was determined that she would not change. Helen, it's good that you are very determined, we would share with her, but can you see and use your determination to discover what Anne is trying to teach you? I will not, she answered us silently. I want to do things my way. Helen didn't know that Anne was just as determined. Anne spent weeks having Helen touch things and then spelling their names on Helen's hand. One day, Anne took Helen to a well and pumped water on her hands. It was cool and wet. Then Anne spelled the word water on Helen's hand, and suddenly Helen understood. She is teaching me the words for things, Helen thought. That's right, we all responded. There are many words to learn if you just have the determination to learn them. Helen became very excited. Can you remember how you felt when you suddenly understood something? Helen ran through the house, touching a clock and a lamp and a chair and her teddy bear. She touched the face of her mother and the mustache of her father, and with each new thing she touched, Anne would spell the word in her hand. The more Helen learned, the more determined she became to learn more about everything she could. You're learning to hear with your hands, said Sound, and you're learning to see with your fingers, said Sight. Someday you may even learn to talk, added Speech was determined that she would. So she traveled with Anne to the Horseman School for the Deaf, and she went to work to learn how to speak. Can you guess how Helen learned how to talk? When Miss Fuller, the school's principal, spoke to Helen, she placed Helen's hand on her mouth. As Miss Fuller spoke, Helen could feel how her principal's lips moved and how her tongue moved against her teeth. Helen learned to move her own lips and tongue in the same way. She's trying to make words, cried Speech. She's learning to talk. Now Helen was finally listening to her true voice, which is herself, to her own good thoughts. She smiled often as she continued to learn how to speak more and more words. Even though Helen was blind, she went on to learn how to read as well. She read books for the blind, written in Braille by running her fingers over raised dots that made up the words on the page. She was so determined to learn all she could that Helen even went on to college, where she spent years studying and graduating with honors. We're so proud of you, Helen, we whispered. You are using your determination to accomplish so much. Can you see how determination might help you in your life? People were so impressed with what Helen had done that she became famous. Helen traveled all around the world speaking to many different groups of people. Even kings, queens, and presidents wanted to meet her. The most important thing that Helen did was to provide real inspiration. Through her determination, she helped people see that they too could overcome any difficulties they might have and live happier lives as well. Today, blind and deaf people have more resources than ever before, and through their own determination, they are doing amazing things. Now, as our story ends, you might want to think about yourself. Could being more determined help you too? You may face different problems than Helen, but whatever you choose to do, you may discover that when you know the value of determination and use it in big and small ways, just like our good friend Helen Keller, you'll be happier too.